Now, the second part of the video series discussing the wrongly named Aztec Calendar and its possible uses and meanings. If you missed the first video in this series, I'll leave the link here for you to watch. But if you've already seen it, let's break down as much as possible in this splendid piece. The stone measures 3.6 meters in diameter, with a weight exceeding 24 tons. Previously, this was the largest monolith found among the Mexicas, but in our current era, the Tlaltecuhtli monolith emerged, relegating this one to the second position. Nevertheless, the stone remains enigmatic, sometimes referred to within academia as a stone document. Well, in the end, everyone calls it what they want, but this one has always left more questions than answers. As I mentioned in the previous video in this series, over time, historical sources began to emerge with a European perspective. These were created by Spaniards and converted indigenous individuals, and later during the independent era of the country, by Mexicans and foreigners from many parts of the world. This stone has been interpreted, and I emphasize the word interpreted, by many people. The reality is that we don't even know the names of its authors. So much surrounding it is theoretical. That's why in this and the following videos we'll discuss various versions attempting to explain what this object contains and how it seems to function. Regarding its painted form, there are reconstructions and theories about its original colors. One of them is precisely next to the original in the Anthropologic Museum, which we observe here. And others in studies like this. While there are valuable works, as we see in the case of Roberto Sieck Flandes, and his reconstruction using color. His painting was based on comparisons with other documents and objects. For example, the central face recreated by the author was based on the following evidence. Sources for color reconstruction. The face of Tonatiuh, according to the Tonatiuh vase in the Aztec ceramic room of the National Museum and according to the page 10 of the Codex Borbonicus. From the transcribed information, it is evident that in this study, to fill the existing gaps, researchers had to turn to other surviving objects from both Mexica and non-Mexica cultures. For instance, in the case of the central part of the monolith, this vase and one of the pages of the Codex Borbonicus were used, as seen here. The same process was followed for the rest of the elements of the piece. The final result is this reconstruction, where we can see that red and yellow colors predominate, with splashes of various other colors. But for this result, they relied on codices such as the Codex Borbonicus, the Telleriano-Remensis, the Nutall, the Laud, the Mendoza, the Borgia, the Magliambecciano, and others, as well as numerous objects like vases, polychrome vessels, and various pigments and stucco remnants found in the original piece. Each color likely had its own meaning, a knowledge now lost to us. Now let's move on to its design. The stone has a circular shape like other smaller rocks monoliths such as the Tizoc stone. It is often overlooked that this is a very hard rock and not a simple piece of paper, emphasizing the difficulty of achieving these engravings across the entire surface and its edge, a feat in itself. This becomes more remarkable considering that even today, tools used for making molcajetes didn't exist back then. Despite this, they achieved these results without the need for assistance from aliens. In addition to this, laborious skill in engraving, the use of geometric and mathematical patterns in its creation would have been employed. Contrary to the Hispanists, though, that labels these groups as savage and ignorant. The design of each engraving would have involved the use of mathematics and geometric thought, the employment of geometric figures, angles, and many other forms of knowledge. Of course, what the original designs were that served as the basis for this creation will never be known. Over time, since its discovery, anyone using its lines, starting points, angles, and more has speculated. I can generate an infinite number of geometric patterns to justify its design, as we see in these recent examples. Many have sought to prove that a particular design was the basis for its creation. However, the truth is that the original design is unknown. Now, the object is not a mere decorative item as we use today. It was a perfectly functional instrument that not only measured time but also conveyed historical aspects, which some today would call myths and legends. For them, these were just as real as many today believe that Jesus Christ existed and was indeed the Son of God. What is carved into the stone was true for them, believing them to be historical events that serve as the historical background for their civilization and the creation of the universe itself. Now, return to the interpretations. There are many options that break down the monolith into various sections, seeking a better understanding not for its creators, but for us. An example of this is the divisions we have in current Mexican coins. But focusing on the original, let's discuss the most common divisions. The first one is obviously the central part of the object, which is a perfectly recognizable face. The next ring is that of the so-called four areas or zones, consisting of a circle and four rectangles. The following division is the circle of days, with a total of 20 rectangles. The next is the ring of hours and quincunxes. Continuing with the ring of Xiuhcoatlus, composed of two supposed fire serpents. Finally, the one very few mention. I refer to the one at the edge, which we see here. According to this division accepted by many, we would have 6 circles on the monolith. Some may divide it into more or fewer circles. But, as I mentioned earlier, these divisions were made after the fall of Tenochtitlan and the creators of the piece. They serve us for educational purposes, but, in another sense, we cannot truly section the object at all. Well, as we will see in the following videos, where we will explain each of the 6 aforementioned circles, you will witness their complexity and harmony. This goes beyond just making simple circle divisions. Starting in the next video of the series, we will begin with the analysis of the supposed face of Tonatiuh that is in the center of the piece.